Ambassador Mike Waltz, thank you so much. Welcome back to the show. We love having you. And I want to start by getting your overall assessment of this MOU. There's a lot of talk out there, as you would expect, from the Democrats. Listen to this.
Everyone who bought Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, ought to ask him for a refund, because what Trump has done in Iran is the art of the disaster.
The MOU has so many holes and gaps. It puts Iran in a much stronger position than before this war.
What a colossal strategic failure. Literally everything that President Trump said he was trying to accomplish with this war has failed to accomplish. It's a staggering walk back.
Okay, so Ambassador, give us the real lay of the land. What is the truth here? We know that at least Hillary Clinton had some kind things to say about it. What do you make of the agreement, and what do you hope develops over the next 60 days of talks?
Well, Laura, you know this. This is a long history and a long line of people trying to manipulate the facts to create a narrative that Trump's failing. But these are the same people that also said he could never get the hostages out of Gaza. Those same naysayers say the same thing about Venezuela, and look at the path that it's on now with Maduro in jail as our great military extradited him. And now here we go again. But here's the difference. Those same folks that were cheering on the Obama deal, Obama and Biden never backed diplomacy with a credible military use of force, like President Trump is doing and has done. So if the Iranians don't live up to their end of the bargain, we go right back to blockade. And as President Trump has said, we will go back to putting bombs on foreheads until Iran accepts the fact, not just from the United States, but the entire global community, with UN resolution after UN resolution, that they can never have a nuke.
We know Iran, though, of course, has been historically unreliable. People love to point this out. But both the president and vice president have alluded to pragmatic negotiators at the table. Can we turn over a new leaf, though, with the supreme leader's shadow kind of looming over the Iranian people? What do you think, Ambassador?
Well, but it also comes down to not only that leverage that, again, the prior administration just gave away before they even walked into the room. President Trump is using it and ready to use it again. But it's also, Laura, especially when dealing with this regime, it is no trust and all verify. And whether that is anytime, anywhere inspections, which is a key fault of the JCPOA Obama deal, where basically Iran got to dictate where you could, where we could inspect. They got to dictate if it was a military site or not, if it was off limits or not. They got to dictate even the list of inspectors. That will not be the case with this deal going forward. And then further, we've got our great Navy out there that can lock down that blockade if they need to again. And I would not underestimate Scott Bessent. He is an economic ninja, and even the money that the Iranians are getting out into the market, he is blocking it through sanctions and secondary sanctions from getting back in. So this is a multi-layered approach, maximum pressure in place until Iran gives up this obsession with a nuclear weapon. And again, President Trump will be doing the entire world a favor. I was just out in the Middle East with our great allies, with Bahrain, the UAE, and others, and they said, you know, the Iranians have shown their true color. If they will hold the world hostage with drones and missiles, just think what they would do with a nuke.
Well, the other major player in this conflict, of course, Israel, was not part of these negotiations. But the president expects a complete ceasefire on all fronts, including in Israel and in Lebanon. How will Hezbollah and other Iranian terror proxies come into play with the negotiations for the final deal? And how will our relationship with Israel fare? We know that it's been a little bit tense as of late.
Well, look, I mean, Laura, you know this, but it's worth reminding everyone, the Israelis, Benjamin Netanyahu and others have repeatedly said no president has been better for Israel than Donald J. Trump. So we can have tactical disputes of what, you know, whether we sequence this first or that in a negotiation. But at the end of the day, we have to keep our eyes on the strategic prize. Iran has repeatedly said they would not only attain a nuke, they would use it on Israel before threatening the rest of the world. We need to trust President Trump and his team as they work through these negotiations. And then finally, and for all of those kind of hand-wringing about sanctions, you have to come back for a lot of these sanctions to the United Nations. We snapped them back, and in order to lift some of them, you have to come back before that body, and that means you need to have a final deal, not just the MOU, but a final deal in place of no nukes that's fully verified before Iran gets that kind of economic relief. So I understand the concern, but this team knows what it's doing and this president knows what it's doing as it drives forward with this deal.
The objective, of course, as you pointed out just a second ago, has always been to ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon and to bring stability overall to the Middle East. In President Trump's first term, though, the Abraham Accords were a major part of that mission. I think so many of us remember what a big deal they were in the moment. And the president has said he hopes to expand them. Now, we've worked closely with Gulf nations so far. Do you foresee progress on that front? And is there a world in which Iran would ever participate and become part of those Abraham Accords?
Well, it's worth remembering, Laura, that much of the same team, including Jared Kushner, who drove us towards the historic Abraham Accords, are now involved in these negotiations, too. No one thought the Abraham Accords would be done. And, you know, I just remind all of the doubters of who's involved here. One, two, it's not just expanding the Abraham Accords, it's also deepening the existing relationships. I was just in the United Arab Emirates, one of the first signers, and Bahrain, one of the first signers of the Abraham Accords, and they are working with Israel in ways not just diplomatic or economically, from a military standpoint now, that was unthinkable just 10 years ago before President Trump came on the scene. And so that realignment is happening in a very positive way. That means eventually, once we get past these this conflict, when those countries are talking about data centers and shared technologies and roads and ports and growing together economically, the more we're talking about that, Laura, the less we're talking about, you know, old hatreds from your great-great-grandfathers that have kept that region in turmoil for so long. And that's President Trump's vision, that commercial diplomacy, business binds, let's grow our economies together and create a brighter future for the next generation. And that's ultimately what we will come back around to, and what the, you know, again, where history will look back on this president and see what a visionary he is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Ambassador Mike Waltz, you're great. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.